What's going on, guys? It's the Unhinged Engineer back with episode 9 of my grad school vlog. So if this is your first episode, welcome. If you didn't already know, I'm studying computer science at night at Georgia Tech, fully online while I continue to work my full-time job in software engineering for AI ML stuff. And yeah, this is the 9th episode, and last episode, actually, episode 8, was pretty intense. I think I titled it a project, 2 problem sets, and a midterm. Because I had a ton of different things to work on that week. I think it was about 10 days, actually, that vlog covered. And so this episode, by contrast, is going to be a little less eventful. Yeah, it's a little less exciting of a title for the video, but my mental health is better. so that's honestly what's more important, right? But yeah, I just figured I'd share the little bit of progress I've made on the next project that we're doing. Yeah, in preparation for the next couple weeks where things really taking up swell. I'll have more lectures to watch because I think we're getting into SLAM stuff now, which I'm super excited about. I'll have to actually see this project through to completion and then probably start studying for finals at some point. And somewhere sprinkled in there will be registering for my next class, which I'm pretty excited about because this time I'll have better priority. So yeah, let's just get right into this probably short and sweet video. So all I've done this week is start working on the search project. So I'll talk a little bit about the format of the search project and then the little progress I've made. But effectively, like, you're this robot in a warehouse, and scattered throughout the warehouse is a bunch of boxes that you have to like go to, pick up, bring back, and drop off in this like central drop zone location. And so I honestly haven't gotten to parts B or C yet. There's 3 parts total. But at least for part A, it's really that simple of just going out, like charting a path towards the box, picking it up, and then bringing it home and going on to the next one. If you complete all the boxes in a certain test case, you win, you move on to the next, and then your grading is based on your success rate amongst various test cases, right? This is pretty standard stuff. The particle filter and the Kalman filter follow this general format of like, hey, you got to build something that passes enough test cases. Same for the PID controller too. Yeah, there are a couple things that I've noticed. So for part A, like you can't pull lots of information about the warehouse like all at once, right? So for example, like you can't check if your indices are out of bounds, right? Like if you're looping through the grid that represents the warehouse, you can't say like less than the length of a row or column, right? You have to check boxes like adjacent to your current location, or at least to the location of whatever node you're searching in, at that time step, right? Even if you haven't moved the robot to it yet, which based on the next thing I'll talk about, you probably haven't. But anyway, yeah, so you can't like analyze the warehouse layout as a whole. There are other, limitations, both in terms of what you are and aren't allowed to do, and then both in terms of like what you're penalized heavily for versus not. So like one example is if you bump into a wall, you take like a huge penalty, right? Which I kind of get. And, that just changes kind of your design. Like for me, in most other projects where I've done A-star, not to spoil kind of what we're working on, but it's basically just A-star. Yeah, like other implementations of A-star I've done, you just set like a really high cost to a wall. And usually that's like good enough. But actually for me, like I was still encountering issues where I would bump into walls, and that was probably more an issue with my heuristic than anything. And one misstep, like bumping into a wall, was a huge cost, right? And so, yeah, I basically just eliminated walls from the search altogether by like recognizing if it's this character, because each cell in the grid is like given a character to represent what it is, if it's open space or a wall or something. I don't even like recognize it as a potential node. I don't add it to any sets. I just, pass and move on. And so, yeah, there's some interesting, constraints in that way. And then the other thing that honestly, I don't really like this as a design decision on their choice, on their part, but it's like most of the time when I think of A-star, like you have your current position, and then you look at all your neighbors and the heuristic values of each, the heuristic costs, and you pick the minimum one, and then you just move to it, right? So you say like your new location is that. But the way that they've set it up is like you kind of have this list of moves, and each move is like a string, like move left, move right, move up, move down. And so based on whatever decision you want to make, You have to append like the next string to it, right? And so you're handling all these like deltas between different time steps manually with strings. So like that's pretty freaking annoying, right? And then if you think about other stuff, like for example, you've got a set of strings for like move left, move right, move up, move down. But what if you're trying to backtrack, right? Then you need something that maps like the move you made on the outbound trip to the move you're making on the inbound, right? So move east gets mapped to move west. Or what if you would move to the drop zone location, but like one constraint is you can't be standing on the drop zone location while you drop the box. You have to stand next to it and drop it. So then you need another thing that says, oh, if I'm trying to move to the right, but the drop zone location is there and I have a box, I should map that move right to a drop right or down right or whatever it's called. Right? So all this to say that like the string processing and stuff is kind of annoying. To be honest, the runners for these projects, like the environment that they give you, has kind of been hit or miss. I mean, they're consistent in terms of like forcing you to get to the point of like, oh, this project's about A star, just shut up and do A star. Or the particle filter was really good, like just do the particle filter, simple enough. So they're consistent in terms of like handling all the legwork, which is more than you could ask for, right? Or the most you could ask for, excuse me. But in terms of like being a good representative problem or representative setup, I guess setup's a better word. They've kind of been hit or miss. I mean, the Kalman filter was like fine for that. The Kalman filter was fine. The particle filter I thought was great. And then the PID control setup was like odd. I just thought it was strange. It was part of why I didn't put as much effort into that project as I probably should have. I mean, I'm on the beginning 88, so it's not really a big deal. But yeah, this one's kind of like somewhere in the middle. Hopefully the slam one they knock out of the park like they did with the particle filter. But either way, yeah, the runners have been fine. But one thing I will say in terms of like a representative problem is I can see why this project was made the big one. Like the biggest project that's worth the most and we get the most time to do. And it's mainly because they're forcing in a lot of like weird edge cases. Weird edge cases that you have to account for in your search, right? Because like I said earlier, we're basically just doing A star or other like bipartite search, like basic search algorithms that people have probably heard of before. But they wrap it up in these like weird edge cases, right? I don't know if I should get into all of them, but I guess to provide one, like I found that my algorithm was crashing when there was a box right next to the drop zone location. So I would literally spawn in, the simulation would start, I would pick up a box, but then I'm already on the drop site. So I don't have anything like pushed to my move set to move off of it. So I had to put in this additional logic of saying like, oh, like if you're standing in the drop zone location, so your move set's empty, you haven't done anything yet, and you can immediately pick up a box, then like step off, put the box on that, go back to the drop zone location, and then move on, right? Like little edge cases like that, while weird and annoying, like I do think are valuable. Because in the previous like personal projects I've done with A star and Dijkstra's and stuff, like I kind of didn't really care about that stuff. I was trying to write it in C++ just to get some more experience with it, so I didn't really like push it to the limit of different edge cases and things. But this project really forces that out of you, and I think that's pretty valuable. I think that is like a good skill that I should learn about now before I'm like piloting a drone or some shit and I fly into a tree. So yeah, overall, like I'm kind of neutral about the project right now. Like it's been a little bit annoying, honestly, like algorithm wise. I've implemented everything I'm trying to do, but for some reason I'm like getting crashes, honestly. Like in different test cases, I'm like my code's just crashing, and it's been annoying to deal with the runner and everything. So like I like the project in theory, but I haven't really had enough rubber hit the road yet to actually gain a lot of value from it. But I hope I will. So yeah, aside from that, once I'm done with some of the other things I'm working on, I will probably start watching the SLAM lectures. I think there is a problem set associated with SLAM. I should really make sure I do that. There is a problem set associated with the SLAM lectures. But first and foremost, my priority is the search project, obviously, because it's worth like 16% of our grade or something. It's the biggest project by far. So that's my main priority and will continue to be. But there's also like problem sets and lectures floating around, and ultimately the final will come at some point. So that's pretty much it. Thanks a lot for sticking around. My name's the Unhinged Engineer. I make professional development content for aerospace engineers, software engineers, people trying to build cool stuff. And I'm also vlogging my grad school journey, in case you couldn't tell. So yeah, things have been a little more inconsistent with the channel lately, honestly, because I just have a ton of stuff going on. But I'm really trying to get back in the groove and get back to providing like good, regular, quality content for y'all, because that's what you deserve, and that's what everybody needs in these trying times in the engineering field, I guess. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, then follow along. I hope it helps, and I will see you in the next video.